The sound of applause echoes through the five-star hotel ballroom as expensive chocolate cake explodes across Zara Williams' black Chanel suit. "This isn't a place for people like you." Vivien Sterling, the real estate billionaire, sneers before 300 elite guests. Zara stands motionless like a statue, cream dripping down her face, feeling a strange sensation rising within her. Not anger, but an ice-cold calm that settles over her like armor. As she looks at the contemptuous eyes surrounding her, she suddenly remembers why she decided to attend this event from the beginning, and whether they're ready for what's coming next. The cream slides down her pristine jacket, each drop marking the end of one story and the beginning of another. In this moment, standing in the center of the Sterling Foundation Gala with cake covering her face, Zara feels an odd sense of liberation washing over her consciousness. The mask has finally fallen. All pretense stripped away. Now everyone can see exactly who they really are, and more importantly, who she really is. But Vivien Sterling has no idea that the woman she just humiliated has spent 3 years preparing for this exact moment. You won't believe what happens next. Zara Williams, 38 years old, has been present at the gala since the evening began, just like any other guest. She sits at her assigned table, sipping champagne and engaging in light conversations about weather and current events. Her simple attire, an elegant black suit, Oxford shoes, and an old Hermès handbag, allows her to blend seamlessly with the atmosphere of understated wealth that permeates the room. She chats with her table mates about travel plans, compliments the appetizers with genuine appreciation, and laughs at appropriate moments during the speeches. There's nothing particularly remarkable about her behavior, just a well-dressed woman enjoying a charity evening among peers. The conversations flow naturally around topics of vacation homes in the Hamptons, children's private school applications, and the latest art acquisitions. Zara has always been naturally observant, a trait she developed during childhood when being invisible meant survival. She notices how different people interact, how conversations flow between the established elite and newcomers, who receives attention and who gets overlooked. It's simply who she is, not deliberate surveillance, though tonight her observations carry more weight than usual. She's perfectly comfortable with anonymity, actually prefers it most of the time. Throughout the evening, Foundation business calls and texts arrive continuously, as they would for any busy executive managing multiple charitable initiatives. But she politely ignores them during dinner courses, checking discreetly during breaks, with the practiced ease of someone accustomed to managing significant responsibilities. After dinner, during the networking portion, she naturally moves around the room like other guests seeking connections and conversations. She approaches the beverage station to refresh her drink, exchanges pleasantries with people she meets, discusses the evening's cause with genuine interest. It's completely normal gala behavior, nothing more, nothing less than what's expected at such gatherings. The first meaningful interaction occurs when she accidentally bumps into the senator's wife near the dessert table while reaching for coffee. "So sorry." She offers a sincere apology with the kind of grace that speaks to good upbringing. The senator's wife gives her a quick once-over, a polite but dismissive smile that categorizes and dismisses in a single glance. Vivien Sterling, standing nearby, notices the interaction and Zara's apparent ordinariness. There's something about this woman that doesn't quite fit the typical profile of tonight's attendees, though Vivien can't put her finger on exactly what it is. Maybe it's the way Zara carries herself, confident but not showy, present but not seeking attention, engaged but not desperate for validation. It's precisely this quality that will make what comes next so utterly devastating. "I don't think we've been introduced," Vivien approaches with her practiced hostess smile, the kind that's been perfected through decades of charity events and social climbing. "I'm Vivien Sterling." It's a perfectly normal networking interaction, that happens dozens of times each evening at events like this, though there's already an undertone of assessment in her voice. "Zara Williams, thank you for such a lovely evening. The venue is absolutely beautiful." She genuinely appreciates good event planning, speaking naturally about the flower arrangements, the quality of the catering, and the thoughtful venue choice. It's typical guest feedback, polite, appreciative, and showing proper social awareness of the effort involved in organizing such an elaborate affair. "Wonderful. I don't recall meeting you before. Are you new to our circle?" It's an innocent question that hostesses always ask to place new faces within their carefully mapped social landscape. Not malicious yet, just normal social cartography that helps maintain the delicate hierarchy of charitable giving and social influence that defines these gatherings. "I've been interested in children's education for quite some time now." It's a truthful statement that could mean anything: volunteer, teacher, parent, donor, advocate. The beauty of the response lies in its ambiguity, allowing the listener to project their own assumptions. Vivien immediately assumes she means interested. From the outside looking in, perhaps someone seeking entry into their exclusive world of philanthropic influence. "How nice. Are you with one of our volunteer organizations?" Vivien's tone remains friendly but carries a slight condescension that's barely perceptible to most, but crystal clear to someone like Zara, who's spent years navigating such conversations. The assumption that Zara must be help rather than a peer begins to surface like oil on water. Their conversation takes place near a popular gathering spot, so people naturally drift over with the magnetic pull that draws social climbers toward power. Not because drama is starting, just normal party flow where people cluster around the hostess like satellites orbiting a planet. Vivien enjoys being the center of attention, and guests gravitate toward her magnetic personality and obvious influence within this particular ecosystem. "I work with charitable foundations." It's completely true, just not specific about which role or level of involvement. Vivien hears "work with" and assumes staff level, not leadership level, her mind automatically categorizing Zara as someone who implements rather than decides. It's a natural misunderstanding that happens all the time in these social settings where titles and positions matter more than character. "Foundation work is so important. Which one? Maybe I know them." Vivien is genuinely trying to place Zara within the social ecosystem she knows intimately, like a naturalist identifying species in their habitat. When she can't immediately categorize this particular specimen, discomfort begins creeping in like fog rolling over familiar territory. More people join the conversation circle because Vivien is tonight's undisputed center of attention, the gravitational force around which lesser lights orbit. They're not sensing drama yet, just gravitating toward the hostess like normal party behavior, drawn by curiosity about the unfamiliar face and the slight tension beginning to crackle in the air like static electricity before a storm. "You know what? I think there's been a mistake," Vivien announces loudly enough to attract additional attention from nearby clusters of conversations. Zara senses the shift in the room's energy, people turning heads, conversations pausing mid-sentence, the subtle but unmistakable sense of conflict brewing like a storm front moving across a peaceful landscape. This event is by invitation only for verified supporters of children's education. I don't recall extending invitations to advocacy groups. Vivien's deliberate pause before advocacy groups carries meaning that everyone understands, loaded with implications about class, belonging, and worthiness that hang in the air like smoke from an expensive cigar. "I understand your concern about maintaining standards." Zara's diplomatic tone somehow makes Vivien angrier, like pouring water on a grease fire. Perhaps because she expected pushback that would justify escalation, or perhaps because politeness from people like Zara feels threatening to the established order she's worked so hard to maintain and protect. "Standards, exactly!" Vivien's voice rises with righteous indignation, carrying across the ballroom like a bell tolling. We work very hard to maintain the integrity of our fundraising efforts. We can't have people just showing up and expecting to belong in spaces they haven't earned the right to occupy. Now there's a substantial crowd watching with the fascination of spectators at a gladiatorial contest. Some pull out phones with the practiced ease of digital natives, others whisper behind champagne flutes and designer fans. Zara notices various expressions rippling through the assembled faces, some uncomfortable with the public confrontation, some entertained by the drama, a few sympathetic but silent, unwilling to risk their own social standing. The mob mentality is building with frightening speed, and she can feel the shift in the room's collective consciousness like a barometric pressure drop before a hurricane. What started as polite conversation has transformed into a public trial, with Vivien as both prosecutor and judge, the crowd as jury, and Zara as the defendant whose crime is simply existing in a space where she's not wanted. Vivien, feeling empowered by her audience and Zara's continued calm, decides to make a statement that will end this confrontation definitively. She walks deliberately to the dessert table, her heels clicking against the marble floor with the precision of an executioner's steps, and selects a large slice of chocolate cake from the elaborate display. "Let me help you understand," Vivien says, her voice dripping with fake sweetness that masks the venom underneath. "This isn't a place for people who don't contribute meaningfully to our cause." The cake flies through the air in a perfect arc, landing squarely on Zara's face and cascading down her expensive suit like a chocolate waterfall of humiliation. Gasps echo throughout the room, followed by some nervous laughter and a few people actually cheering Vivien on as if she's just scored a touchdown. The humiliation is complete, public, and devastating in its calculated cruelty, designed not just to embarrass, but to completely destroy any semblance of dignity or belonging. Standing there with cake dripping from her face and suit, Zara feels a strange sense of liberation washing over her like baptismal water. All pretense is gone, all masks removed, all social niceties stripped away. Now everyone can see exactly who they really are, and more importantly, she's free to reveal who she really is. "Thank you," Zara says quietly, not wiping the cake away, her voice carrying a strange power that cuts through the noise like a blade through silk. "You've just shown everyone exactly what this evening was really about." Something in Zara's tone makes the room fall silent. Not defeated silence, but anticipatory silence, like the calm before a storm that promises to reshape the landscape forever. Emboldened by what she perceives as total victory, Vivien addresses the entire room with the confidence of a general addressing troops after a successful battle. "Let this be a lesson about respecting boundaries and understanding your place. Some people think they can force their way into any situation, but we have standards here that must be maintained." Judge Morrison steps forward with the authority of his position, his voice carrying the weight of legal gravitas. "Absolutely right, Vivien. This is a private event for invited guests only." The senator's wife nods approvingly, her pearls catching the light as she adds her voice to the chorus. "We must protect the integrity of our charitable work from those who would exploit our generosity." Media heiress Margaret Cross begins live-streaming the confrontation with commentary about gatecrashers and maintaining standards, her followers growing by the hundreds as the drama unfolds in real time. The hashtag #GalaCrasher begins trending as viewers share and comment on the spectacle of a woman covered in cake refusing to leave. Still not wiping the cake away, Zara stands completely motionless in the center of the room like a statue carved from dignity itself. She doesn't make phone calls or send frantic messages for help, doesn't plead or argue or defend herself. She simply stands there with a small, mysterious smile that seems to hold secrets the room can't fathom. "I'll wait," she says calmly when security approaches, their uncomfortable expressions revealing their uncertainty about using force against someone who isn't resisting. The crowd forms a tighter circle around the confrontation, some recording every moment, others just watching the spectacle with the fascination of people witnessing something unprecedented. Security approaches at Vivien's imperious signal, their radios crackling with uncertainty. "Ma'am, you need to leave the premises immediately," the head of security says, though his tone lacks conviction. Zara doesn't move, doesn't resist, just continues standing there with that enigmatic smile, creating confusion among the security staff who were expecting either compliance or resistance, not this strange, calm confidence. The trending hashtag explodes across social media platforms as videos from multiple angles show the cake incident spreading like wildfire. Comments pour in, a mixture supporting Vivien for protecting standards and maintaining proper boundaries, while a growing number question what they're witnessing, asking why a woman covered in cake seems so strangely confident. "Wait for what?" the security guard asks, genuinely puzzled by her response. Zara just smiles, that mysterious smile. Truth always has a way of revealing itself. I just need to be patient. The way she speaks makes people feel uneasy, as if she knows something they don't, as if this humiliation is somehow part of a larger plan they can't comprehend. "Call the police if necessary," Vivien declares with theatrical flourish, playing to her audience like an actress on stage. "We cannot let people like this terrorize our serious charitable events." The crowd applauds more vigorously, some live streaming with mocking captions, others shouting encouragement for Vivien's brave stand against infiltrators. Zara checks her watch with the casual gesture of someone expecting an appointment, the small smile never leaving her lips despite the cake still dripping from her face. "Soon," she tells the increasingly nervous security guard with absolute certainty. "Just a few more minutes." She refuses to move, creating a standoff between her apparent powerlessness and the entire establishment's attempt to remove her. The tension in the room reaches fever pitch as people begin to sense that something larger is happening, though none can identify exactly what. Some guests are enjoying the drama like a reality TV show, others are uncomfortable with the escalating public humiliation. But no one can look away from the woman who seems to grow more powerful with each moment of degradation. Margaret Cross's live stream gains thousands of viewers as the confrontation escalates. The comments section divides between those calling for Zara's immediate removal and others questioning why someone in such a powerless position seems so eerily confident. The hashtag spreads beyond the ballroom, reaching social media users across the country who begin following the unfolding drama with growing fascination. Just at this moment, as Vivien basks in what she believes is complete and total victory, as the crowd reaches peak fervor in their collective righteousness, as security prepares to physically remove the interloper, the ballroom doors swing wide open with dramatic timing that seems orchestrated by fate itself. The ballroom doors burst open with enough force to silence the crowd instantly. Richard Sterling III, Vivien's father, chairman of the Sterling Foundation, 75 years old and commanding respect from every person in the room, enters with a panicked expression that immediately changes the entire atmosphere like a cold front moving through a warm room. He just flew back from New York after receiving an urgent message from his assistant about a serious situation at the Gala, though the details were vague and terrifying. His private jet touched down 20 minutes ago, and he rushed here without even changing from his travel clothes, his usually immaculate appearance disheveled by urgency and growing dread. "Zara!" Richard Sterling calls out loudly, his voice carrying across the silent ballroom with unmistakable recognition and horror. He completely ignores his daughter and the entire assembled crowd, rushing straight to Zara with the desperation of someone trying to prevent a catastrophe. My God, what happened to you? I just heard something terrible was happening, but I never imagined. He sees the cake covering her face and expensive suit, his face turning pale as the implications hit him like a physical blow. This isn't just any guest, any random crasher or troublemaker. This is someone whose opinion matters more than everyone else in the room combined. Someone whose goodwill represents the difference between success and total failure for everything he's built. Vivien stands stunned, watching her father, the most powerful person she knows, the man whose approval she's spent her entire life seeking, rushing to the woman she just humiliated with the kind of deference usually reserved for heads of state. "Dad? You know her?" Her voice trembles with growing realization that something is terribly, catastrophically wrong. "Know her?" Richard turns to look at his daughter with absolute horror spreading across his distinguished features like ink in water. "Vivien, this is Zara Williams, the person who has single-handedly funded our foundation for the past 3 years. All $4.2 billion of it. Every program, every initiative, every success we've celebrated, it all came from her." The revelation hits the room like a nuclear explosion, the shockwave of understanding rippling through the crowd in visible waves. Phones that were recording Vivien's triumph now capture her complete humiliation as the truth reshapes everyone's understanding of what they've just witnessed. The victim becomes the victor, the powerless reveals ultimate power, and the righteous become the villains in a story that's suddenly rewritten before their eyes. "Ms. Williams," Richard says with a trembling voice, his hands shaking as he attempts to help clean cake from her face like a servant attending royalty. "I had prepared to meet with you next week about the $500 million expansion project. We've been corresponding through intermediaries for months, and I never dreamed this could happen at my foundation." "Impossible," Vivien stammers, watching her father treat this cake-covered woman with more respect than he's ever shown her, his careful attention and obvious deference making it clear that whatever power Vivien thought she possessed is nothing compared to what she's just attacked. The foundation of her worldview crumbles like a house of cards in an earthquake. Richard turns to his daughter with anger and disgust that cuts deeper than any blade, his voice rising to carry across the ballroom so everyone can hear his shame and fury. "Vivien, she is our only anonymous donor. Without Williams' foundation, everything we have, this house, these cars, this lifestyle, this social position, none of it would exist. You just attacked the person who makes our entire world possible." Judge Morrison, Richard's longtime business partner, who's known the Sterling family for decades, steps forward in complete shock. "Richard, you're saying this woman is—" Richard nods seriously, his voice heavy with the weight of catastrophe. "Judge, this is one of the top 5 most powerful philanthropists in America. I've been begging for a face-to-face meeting for 2 years." The crowd watches in stunned silence as Richard's fury builds to a crescendo that will destroy his daughter's reputation and social standing in a matter of minutes. The woman they mocked and dismissed is revealed as the puppet master controlling the strings of their entire social ecosystem, and every laugh, every cheer, every moment of support for Vivien's actions becomes evidence of their collective moral bankruptcy. Richard turns to his daughter, his face red with rage that's been building since he received that first panicked phone call, his voice carrying the fury of a man watching his life's work destroyed by ignorance and prejudice. "Vivien, what have you done? You just destroyed our family's reputation in 10 minutes! You threw cake at the only person funding this entire foundation! You fool! You arrogant, ignorant child! Who do you think you are to treat people like this? Ms. Williams is the largest benefactor we've ever had, and you treated her like trash." His voice shakes with anger and shame, every word designed to cut his daughter down to size in front of the very people whose approval she's spent her life seeking. How did I raise you? Is this how the Sterling family treats guests? You've embarrassed us in front of all of high society. The reputation I built over 40 years, you destroyed in one night with your prejudice and cruelty." The condemnation echoes through the ballroom, ensuring that everyone present understands the magnitude of Vivien's mistake and the justice of her father's fury. "You don't deserve to carry the Sterling name. Effective immediately, you are removed from all positions in the Foundation. You will face the consequences of your actions alone." The final blow lands with devastating precision, stripping away Vivien's titles, her purpose, her identity within the world that defined her existence. Zara stands up slowly, cake still clinging to her suit, but her dignity fully restored and magnified by the revelation of her true identity. Her voice remains calm, but carries finality that cuts through the ballroom's stunned silence, like a judge pronouncing sentence. "Mr. Sterling, I appreciate our relationship over the years and the important work we've accomplished together. However, after what happened tonight, Williams Foundation cannot continue this partnership." The words land like a death sentence on the Sterling Foundation's future. Every person in the room understands immediately that they've just witnessed the destruction of one of the most powerful charitable organizations in the country, brought down not by scandal or mismanagement, but by simple human cruelty and prejudice. "Zara, please, I'll handle this situation immediately." Richard pleads with the desperation of a man watching his life's work crumble. "Vivien will be removed from the board immediately. We'll implement new protocols, new training, whatever you require." But Zara shakes her head with the finality of someone who's already made their decision and won't be swayed by promises or desperation. "This isn't just about Vivien, Mr. Sterling. This is about the culture this foundation has allowed to develop, the attitudes it's enabled, the behavior it's tolerated." Her words cut deeper than any legal document, revealing that this isn't a rash decision made in anger, but a calculated conclusion based on systematic observation of institutional failure. Effective immediately, all funding will be withdrawn. $4.2 billion will be redirected to organizations whose values align with our mission of dignity and respect for all people. Richard's face goes white as the blood drains away, understanding that this is a death sentence for Sterling Foundation and everything he's built over decades of careful cultivation. "Zara, I'm sorry, I'll do anything," Vivien pleads desperately. But the damage is done, and everyone can see it written in Zara's implacable expression. She realizes that her entire lifestyle, the penthouse apartment, the luxury cars, the social status that defined her identity, is about to disappear like smoke in the wind. "Please, I have children, obligations, responsibilities." The hashtag CakeGate explodes globally as the context becomes clear to millions of viewers watching the drama unfold in real time. Video clips go viral with staggering speed, accumulating millions of views as the narrative shifts completely from supporting Vivien's defense of standards to celebrating Zara's quiet dignity and ultimate triumph over prejudice and privilege. The comments sections transform before everyone's eyes, shifting from mocking the gatecrasher to condemning the cruelty and celebrating the justice of the reversal. Major news outlets pick up the story within minutes, their headlines capturing the perfect irony of a billionaire philanthropist being humiliated by the very people she's been supporting anonymously for years. Sterling Foundation board members receive emergency calls from panicked assistants and lawyers as corporate sponsors begin withdrawing support within minutes of understanding what they've just witnessed. Vivien's speaking engagements are cancelled as news spreads through social media faster than wildfire, and country club memberships come under immediate review by organizations desperate to distance themselves from the scandal. Discrimination attorneys reach out via social media with offers of representation and support, while the Department of Justice announces an investigation will begin immediately into the Foundation's practices. IRS audits automatically trigger due to the public nature of the incident, and the massive financial implications. While class action suits from other victims of similar discrimination are already being organized by legal teams working around the clock. Judge Morrison approaches Zara with the humility of someone recognizing their complicity in injustice. Ms. Williams, on behalf of the legal community, I apologize for my role in this travesty. The senator's wife suddenly becomes friendly with the desperate enthusiasm of someone trying to repair irreparable damage. Zara, I didn't realize. If I had known! One by one, those who stood with Vivien and cheered her cruelty shift their allegiance with the speed of political operatives during a changing election, their social survival instincts overriding any loyalty to someone who's become radioactive to their carefully maintained reputations. Zara, my daughter made a terrible mistake, but the foundation has helped thousands of children over the years. Richard pleads with the desperation of someone watching their legacy burn. Please don't punish them for Vivien's actions. They're innocent in all this. Zara considers this carefully, showing her character through targeted punishment rather than indiscriminate destruction. Mr. Sterling, those children will continue to be helped, just not through an organization that has demonstrated such fundamental bias and institutional cruelty. Williams Foundation will direct funding to institutions worthy of trust and capable of treating all people with dignity. The measured response shows that her decision isn't driven by emotion, but by principle, making it even more devastating because it can't be appealed to or bargained with. With cake still visible on her clothing, but her dignity fully restored, Zara addresses the stunned ballroom with the authority of someone who's emerged victorious, not through force, but through moral clarity. I didn't do this for revenge or personal satisfaction. I did this for systemic change that's long overdue. When you have resources, you have a responsibility to use them to protect those who are more vulnerable than yourself. Her words carry the weight of lived experience, of someone who understands both privilege and prejudice from personal encounters with both. Tonight revealed a pattern of behavior that happens daily to people who don't have billions to defend themselves or platforms to demand justice. Real change requires consequences with teeth, not just apologies and promises of future improvement. Williams Foundation will establish a $50 million program for comprehensive diversity training across the entire philanthropic sector. We will partner with established civil rights organizations to ensure these standards change industry-wide, not just in isolated cases. The announcement transforms personal justice into systemic reform, showing that her goals extend far beyond tonight's specific incident. Real power isn't the ability to destroy your enemies when they wrong you. It's the wisdom to know when mercy serves justice better than punishment, and the courage to act on that knowledge. But mercy without consequences only enables more harm by teaching people that cruelty has no cost. Her philosophy emerges through her actions, revealing someone who's thought deeply about power and responsibility, about justice and forgiveness, about the balance between individual accountability and institutional change. To everyone who witnessed this, you had choices tonight. Some spoke up against injustice, others stayed silent, others actively participated in individuality. Those choices reveal character more clearly than any resume or social position. This isn't the end of the story for anyone involved. This is the beginning of something better. Vivien has an opportunity to learn, grow, and become a better person than she was tonight. Richard has a chance to rebuild the foundation on a stronger moral foundation that truly serves its mission. Change is possible when people choose growth over defensiveness. My goal isn't to shame anyone into submission or destroy lives out of spite. It's to create a world where no child grows up thinking their worth depends on others' approval based on race, class, or background. Every child deserves dignity, respect, and opportunity regardless of circumstances beyond their control. The vision she articulates transcends tonight's drama, pointing toward a future built on inclusion rather than exclusion, dignity rather than hierarchy, justice rather than privilege. Power corrupts when it goes unchecked. Privilege blinds when it's never challenged. Community fails when good people choose silence over courage. Be the check. Be the challenge. Be the voice that speaks when others won't. Zara's words resonate not just with those in the room, but with the millions watching online, seeing in her story their own struggles with prejudice and exclusion, their own dreams of justice and dignity, their own hopes that someday character will matter more than connections, that merit will outweigh money, that kindness will triumph over cruelty. Next time you witness discrimination, will you speak up? You don't need billions to make a difference in someone's life. You just need courage to stand up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable or costly. Her challenge cuts across economic lines, social boundaries, and cultural divisions, speaking to the universal human capacity for moral courage. Call out bias when you see it, even when it's awkward or socially risky. Support businesses that reflect your values rather than just your convenience. Amplify marginalized voices in your community instead of staying safely silent. Teach children that respect is a human right, not an earned privilege based on status or wealth. Use your wallet as a weapon for justice rather than just personal gratification. Support inclusive leaders who demonstrate character through actions, not just words. Withdraw support from those who perpetuate harm, regardless of how charming or successful they might appear. Money talks in every language. Make it speak for equity and dignity. Every person who enables discrimination through silence is complicit in the system of oppression that damages us all. Don't be one of them. Your silence has consequences that ripple far beyond what you can see, affecting people you'll never meet, but whose lives you could improve through simple courage. Remember this: Zara didn't win tonight because she was wealthy. She won because she refused to accept unacceptable treatment and had the patience to wait for justice rather than seeking immediate revenge. You have that same power inside you, regardless of your bank account or social connections. The story spreads far beyond the ballroom walls, becoming a rallying cry for dignity over privilege, character over connections, justice over convenience. Social media explodes with personal stories of discrimination and dreams of revenge, but also with commitments to act differently, to speak up more courageously, to build a world where tonight's humiliation becomes impossible. Vivien learned that privilege cannot buy the right to dehumanize others without consequences. Richard learned that organizations must earn trust daily through actions, not just intentions. The crowd learned that silence in the face of injustice makes them complicit in the cruelty they witness. What will you learn from this story? More importantly, what will you do with that knowledge starting tomorrow morning when the cameras stop rolling and the headlines fade? That's where real change happens. Not in dramatic moments like tonight, but in the small daily choices that define who we really are when nobody's watching. Your voice matters more than you think. Your actions create ripples that spread farther than you imagine. Your choices define the legacy you leave behind long after you're gone. Be the change you want to see in the world. Start today. Start now. Start with the very next choice you make. The evening ends not with applause, but with reflection that will continue long after the ballroom empties. Not with celebration, but with commitment to building something better than what existed before tonight's revelation. And not with an ending, but with a beginning. The beginning of change that ripples outward from this moment, touching lives far beyond the glittering ballroom where truth finally overcame privilege, where justice found its voice, and where one woman's quiet dignity transformed humiliation into hope for everyone watching around the world.